Good morning, students. Welcome to the third session of the chapter, The Rat Trap. First of all, let's revise what we have done in the earlier two portions. We began with describing the title, how does a rat trap traps the rat. Then we have the story of the peddler. And the first question was, why was the peddler's life sad and monotonous? The answer was that he has no family, he's lonely, plus he does not have proper food to eat, no place to reside, and the business that he had was not very profitable. Then why did he compare the world to a rat trap? Because he thought that the world, like a rat trap, traps the rat. Similarly, the world also acts as a rat trap, and it traps the human beings in and offers baits in the form of material comforts. The human beings get lured or tempted. Once they enter the rat trap, the door is snapped off and they are ensnared. Then the next question is, why was the thought so entertaining? Because the world was not good to him. So thinking bad about the world gave him happiness, and plus he was happy that he was out of it. Then the next important question is, how did he fall into the rat trap? He knocked the door of a crofter's house. Then the crofter welcomed him in, gave him food to eat, gave him shelter, then played games with him and talked to him, and then shared his confidences that he had earned 30 kronas. This money acted as the final bait in the final nail in the coffin, and he stole the money and fell into the rat trap. But he did not realize he has fallen. So, what were his initial feelings? That's the next question. The initial feelings were of pleasure, then a fear that he has fallen into the rat trap, and fear that he cannot walk on the public highway, and he entered the forest. And it was then he realized that he has fallen into the rat trap when he got lost in the forest. Then the next question is the description of the iron mill. You remember it was a large plant, and iron was made, and barges and scores, the flat bottom boats brought the scrap iron, and there was a blacksmith working there. There was a furnace. The room where the furnace is called the forge. The bellows brought the air in, and it ignited the coal which was kept inside. Then in the coal, they among the coal pieces, they kept the pieces of pig iron, and they brought the pig iron out with the help of the tongs. One of them held the pig iron on the anvil with the help of the tongs, and the other used to beat it with the hammer, and those hammer strokes only he had heard. Then the next question is, why did the blacksmith not realize that he has the peddler entered inside? Because there were many noises outside. It was the bellows, then the fire boy shoveling charcoal into the maw of the furnace, then the coal burning, then the bellows groaning. Then outside there was a waterfall, then a wind, and then the rain. Then he did not realize that he had entered, and he allowed him to stay because there were many vagabonds used to come, and here also there was one vagabond. He allowed him. Then what was the next thing? The next unusual thing was when the owner of the iron mill came and he saw the peddler, and he mistook him to be Neil Solov. The next question is, what happened when this iron master invited the peddler home? He refused because he had those 30 kronas with him, and moreover, he was not Neil Solov. He knew that in the morning his truth would be known. So he refused his invitation, declined the invitation again and again. Now, today we are going to begin with the third session, and this third session tells us that till now we have learned that he has robbed the crofter, entered the iron mill, the iron master has invited him home, but he has refused. But the astonishing thing that happens is when the same invitation is extended by iron master's daughter Edla, he accepts that invitation. So why does he accept this invitation? We have to see this. This is the next question. But at the same time, there is an important NCRT question also. We have to compare and contrast the character of the iron master and his daughter. So now when Edla, the daughter, walks in, from that time onwards you have to notice the difference. So I'll tell you from time to time what are the differences, and at the same time keep in mind why did he accept Edla's invitation although he was going to the same place. So let's begin with the paragraph just in the middle. We had ended here, but the stranger said no and again no, and the ironmaster saw that he must give in. We had ended here. Now let's begin. It looks as though Captain Bonstale preferred to stay with you tonight, Sandstorm. Sandstorm was the name of the blacksmith. So just in a joke he said that Captain Bonstale wants to stay with you. Now, who is this Captain Bonstale? Neil Soloof is the pet name of Captain Bonstale. So, in a regiment, the name of this person whom he thought that the peddler was this person, the name was Captain Bonstale, and he addressed him as his pet name Neil Soloof. So, Captain Bonstale is the real name of that person. Okay, this is not the name of the peddler. That is the name of his comrade whom he thought the peddler was. Okay. It looked as though Captain Wonstill preferred to stay with you tonight, Sagistorm, he said to the master blacksmith and turned on his heel. But he laughed to himself as he went away, and the blacksmith who knew him understood very well that he had not said his last word. From the way he told this, he knew that he would come back. And he thought he would come, but instead of that, he sent his daughter. So let us now notice the difference. It was not more than half an hour before they heard the sound of carriage wheels outside the forge, and a new guest came in. But this time it was not the ironmaster. He had sent his daughter, apparently hoping that she would have better powers of persuasion than he himself. You should mark this point. This is the first difference between the daughter and the ironmaster. The ironmaster thought that the daughter would have better powers of persuasion. Like some people can force people to do a particular task, and this will be proved afterwards also when Edla extends the invitation once and the peddler accepts, in spite of declining the ironmaster's invitation 3 to 4 times. So who has better powers of persuasion? Edla. Then next, she entered, followed by a valet carrying on his arm a big fur coat. She was not at all pretty, but seemed modest. That's the next difference. She was modest. Ironmaster, you remember, was pompous. But here we find her daughter to be modest, but seemed modest and quite shy. In the forge, everything was just as it had been earlier in the evening. The master blacksmith and his apprentice still sat on their bench, and iron and charcoal still glowed in the furnace. The stranger had stretched himself out on the floor and lay with a piece of pig iron under his head and his hat pulled down over his eyes. As soon as the young girl caught sight of him, she went up and lifted his hat. The man was evidently used to sleeping with one eye open. Don't think that he was sleeping with one eye open. It's an expression to say when you have light sleep. So when she just touched the man abruptly got up. He jumped up abruptly and seemed to be quite frightened. My name is Edla Wilmanson, said the young girl. My father came home and said that you wanted to sleep here in the forge tonight, and then I asked permission to come and bring you home to us. I'm so sorry, Captain, that you are having such a hard time. She looked at him compassionately in a very friendly manner. Although the friend was the ironmaster, but the manner of Edla was friendly. That's the next difference. With her heavy eyes, and then she noticed that the man was afraid. That's the next difference, students. Ironmaster, in spite of talking to the man, did not give a second thought, and he saw that the man was frightened and alarmed. But he did hardly paid any attention. Edla in one go could understand that this man was afraid. And see the next line. Either he has stolen something or else he has escaped from jail. And we know that he has stolen something. That means she had very good observation skills. In the first go, she could understand this man has done something wrong. Okay. She thought and added quickly, you may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came. And here was a big promise made. She knew this man has done something wrong. So she made a promise that you'll come to a house as a free man and you'll go from a house as a free man. And this promise must have had effect on the peddler. And you can see the effect. Only please stay with us over Christmas Eve. She said this in such a friendly manner that the rat trap peddler must have felt confidence in her. It would never have occurred to me that you would bother with me yourself, miss, he said. I'll come at once. Now here is astonishing. He declined the ironmaster's invitation. He accepted Edla's invitation, although he was going to the same place. Reason? Edla made a promise. And that promise was he'll go as a free man and he'll come out as a free man. Then he accepted the fur coat which the valet handed him. Valet, you must be knowing, are people who serve you for a particular period of time. So that valet handed him with a deep bow, threw it over his rags, and followed the young lady out of the carriage without granting the astonished blacksmith so much as a glance. The blacksmith had allowed him to stay in the house, stay in the forge. But this man, like while he was going, he did not even look at the blacksmith and say thank you that you have allowed me to stay. And this is where we show that he is a man full of thanklessness, a man full of ingratitude. Earlier also he had shown this. The crofter showed him the money. He should not have stolen the money. It was hard earned money. He stole, he said thank you. But thank you, he did not mean it. And here also, he did not even thank the people. So if you are asked, he was a man of ingratitude, you are getting two examples. Then, but while he was riding up to the manor house, he had evil forebodings. If this word is prefix is added, fore means beforehand. Bodings means thoughts. That means he had prior thoughts, pre-thoughts. And see the thoughts, which is very important. Why the devil did I take that fellow's money? He thought. Now I am sitting in the trap and will never get out of it. Was he regretting that he stole the crofter's money? Yes, and he's saying here, why did the devil did I take that fellow's money? So he was regretting, but he had now no choice. Then the next day was Christmas Eve, and when the ironmaster came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade whom he had run across so unexpectedly. Now here I'll tell you something. We knew that the ironmaster was arrogant, but does it mean that he was not caring? Let us see whether he was caring or not, because these are two opposite qualities more or less, but they there in the same man. So let us see this last paragraph. First of all, we must see to it that he gets a little flesh on his bones. That means he gets something to eat. He said to his daughter who was busy at the table, and then we must see that he goes something that he gets something else to do than to run around the country selling rat traps. He said that means he was saying that we'll see that he gets something else to do. That means we'll give him a proper business and we'll give him proper food. So was he caring? Definitely yes. So behind his pompous and arrogant nature, there was a caring man. Then see the next difference, and you'll be astonished at this. It is clear that things have gone downhill with him as badly as that, said the daughter. Last night I did not think there was anything about him to show that he has once been an educated man. One more observation skill. She understood that this man was not educated at all. Ironmaster, even after talking to him for such a long time, he did not give a second thought that I could be mistaken and this man was not educated. Uh, Here, Edla in one go could understand that the man was not educated. See what does the ironmaster say, and there is a verbal irony over there. You must have patience, my little girl, said the father. As soon as he gets clean and dressed up, you will see something different. Last night he was naturally embarrassed. The tramp manners will fall away from him with the tramp clothes. That means the ironmaster believed that education came with clothes. He said, just now when he comes down, you'll see when he has changed and he'll wear proper clothes, you'll find an educated man. But this is not so. You know, in life, students, people, if suddenly they amass wealth, they buy very good clothes, but the minute they open their mouth, we can understand they are educated or not. We are not talking about illiteracy. Literacy is just the ability to read and write. Education is the difference between right and wrong. You show education with the help of your mannerisms. And here he said that as soon as the clothes would change, you'll find an educated man. But see what happened. And he said you'll see something different. Then, just as he said this, the door opened and a stranger entered. Yes, now he was truly clean and well dressed. The valet had bathed him, cut his hair, and shaved him. Moreover, he was dressed in a good looking suit of clothes which belonged to the ironmaster. He wore a white shirt and a starched collar and whole shoes. This means that he was completely well dressed now. But see what happened. But although his guest was now so well groomed, the ironmaster did not seem pleased. Why? Because he understood that last night he was mistaken. This man was obviously not Neil Soloff. So whatever he said has proved true. He said, you'll see something different. Yes, he was seeing something different because he expected him to be Neil Soloff. He was something else. Then he looked at him with a puckered brow. Puckered brow, like raised eyes. That what is this? In the form of a question. He looked at him with a puckered brow, and it was easy to understand that when he had seen the strange fellow in the uncertain reflection from the furnace, he might have made a mistake. But that now, when he stood there in broad daylight, it was impossible to mistake him for an old acquaintance. What does this mean? He thundered. The stranger made no attempt to dissimulate. Dissimulate means hide. He made no attempt to hide. He knew his truth has been revealed. He saw at once that the splendor had come to an end. Now, students, what do you expect? He should have asked sorry, that I'm sorry that I have said wrong or I have told a lie and all these things. He should have apologized. But see, this man has got no compunction. Compunction means pricking of the conscience. And this man has no pricking of the conscience at all. And he, instead of asking sorry, starts to blame the ironmaster. So this is important here. This is a strange reaction. Instead of apology, there is a direct blame on the ironmaster. So let us see here. It's not my fault, sir, he said. I never pretended to be anything but a poor trader, and I pleaded and begged to be allowed to stay in the forge, but no harm has been done. At worst, I can put on my rags again and go away. This man, instead of asking sorry, very bluntly says that I asked there to stay in the forge only. You only brought me here. Until now, nothing wrong has been done. I'll wear my rags and go away. Well, said the ironmaster, hesitating a little. Why was this hesitation? Because he only brought him there. And when he could not, he sent Edla. Well, said the ironmaster, hesitating a little. It was not quite honest either. You must admit that. And I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in the matter. The tramp took a step forward and struck the table with his fist. Now I'm going to tell you, Mr. Ironmaster, how things are, he said. The whole world is nothing but a big rat trap. All the good things that are offered to you are nothing but cheese rings and bits of pork set out to drag a poor fellow into trouble. And if the sheriff comes and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Ironmaster, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork and then you'll get caught in the trap. Now the ironmaster was astonished. This man is caught, and he started to show philosophy, saying, "This world is nothing. It's a big rat trap. If you'll send me today to the jail, tomorrow it will be your turn." Now the ironmaster started to laugh. The ironmaster began to laugh. "That was not so badly said, my good fellow. Perhaps we should let the sheriff alone on Christmas Eve. But now get out of here as fast as you can." He turned this man out of doors. So the questions that we have done today from here is, why did he accept Edla's invitation? What were the difference that you noticed between the ironmaster and Edla? This question I'm going to discuss again towards the last. Then what happened when the truth of the peddler was revealed, and what did he say in his defense? This is an important NCERT question. In his defense, he started to blame the ironmaster, and he said there was nothing wrong done. He could wear his rags and go away, and he started to show him philosophy. So this is where we have done, and we have ended this particular portion here at this particular place as fast as you can. In the next session, we will discuss what happened in the remaining portion. Thank you.